What a wicked state this place gets in. No different than the wicked state that corrosion gets to when it starts to set in. I want to say this truck's a 98. My task is rockers and cab corners and the lower door skin section. Finally received all the sheet metal I need, and so I've dug into this project. Although our lighting is poor, I think we can see this is the outer rocker skin that I cut, and so we can see how bad the corrosion inside was compared to how it's looking on the outside. Didn't look that bad. Can't you just patch it? And of course I said no. So here we are doing the what we have is one of these slip-ons, and it should be enough material for me to do the task the way I'd like to do it. We've got all this foam in here. Dodge went to town with the foam for a nice quiet ride. So we've got to get rid of all the foam that will catch fire as soon as we apply welding heat to it. And so this was just my first fit of this cab corner. Of course, a task like this means lifting the box out of the way at least. So that's removing all the box bolts and the fifth wheel rails. The rear bumper came off for that task as well. And then I've got it jacked up and blocked enough so that it's out of my way wherever I do this transition, which is likely somewhere in this range, a few inches below my cut. And so you can't see, but the bottom edge fits fairly close right now. It goes all wonky to hell on the inside. Again, this is not a slip over one. This is a replacement cab corner, which is what I want. But I will be trimming it appropriately so that we have the exact shape that this deal was on the truck when it came from the factory, and the exact same fitment of this back door. Of course, right now, not only is it stick outwards on this plane, mostly because it's overlapped, but also the stamp is just that much different. If I can take this off one-handed, we'll see that the, which is unlikely, I hammered it on there with my hands, mind you, but the body line that is here is not as sharp on this reproduction panel. There we go, I can. And so I cut away the rust that was on the outside cab corner. Let's get the correct orientation here. This is where it was. And so I'm sure we could all agree this seemed very typical. And the rust continues up further than where I cut it. So with your fingers you can feel it gets clean right around here, but there's also some sort of a break or a stop. So it's crusty right to the double over layer. So yeah, it'll be right in here. I'll measure with something. Well, no, I probably will use my finger just like that. So my finger's bottoming out on a plate panel inner structure that sits inside at the level of my hand. And so we'll be doing our replacement below or just at that. Also, just of note, to do a task like this, we had to remove the rear seat belt, gain access to the cavity here. They again, plastic bags full of cotton foam. Gloves to burn if you don't get it out of the heat zone. So the top section of the rocker itself seems to be good, clean, and strong, and that would leave our lines where we want it. So we'll probably be doing some sort of a butt weld or a flanged piece that will fit underneath here from our stamped skin repair panel. And so I've marked this, and I will be cutting all along just the inside edge. So that means it'll only overlap into here. And so we'll be cutting this back further, potentially, and using this edge. I don't know until I clean out the foam and I can really inspect in there and see how bad the surface corrosion is on the back side or the inside of this panel. Either way, our replacement steel comes all the way up to here. So if we did need to replace this whole footwell, I don't know what we want to call this section, but if we needed to replace it, we do have it. So I haven't quite trimmed this off yet. I need to get under here. Unfortunately, it's dark for the camera, but I need to clean up, count my spot welds, clean up the edge, and get in here with a wire wheel and remove all the foam sound deadening material that is inside this rocker and aiding in the corrosion. I cleaned out a whole bunch of garbage from this zone here, and there's much more to go, but the floor has that surface corrosion worse on the inside, it seems, than on the underside of the truck. So it makes sense that we will wire wheel that, etch prime it, and coat it as we are trying to give life to this truck. And although the customer currently isn't going to splurge to do any work to the box or the fenders, in my mind, he spent a lot of money on the chassis, and so getting the cab section of the truck corrosion free is important for the longevity of this truck, and that means that doing these rockers and the cab corner, we find that rust goes further, and we need to go as far as we can reach in order to at least put fresh coatings on there. Right? Abrasives to get rid of the corrosion. Sometimes corrosion converters are another great step to use, and then of course a good modern coating that will stay true and tough. We're talking about inside panels, that floor area there, so it doesn't need to look good, it just needs to stop any more corrosion from happening when it gets inevitably filled full of dirt. So that's my 10-minute little blip on the junk that I am dealing with this week. We'll get this all tidied up, finished off, and rolling down the road.